Um, the very first thing we wanted to get out of the way in this in today's little stream, we didn't plan we want to do a stream today, but we didn't want to fucking sit around. It's like, who sits around on a stream for more than an hour anymore? It's really good because the only people who do that are people who are avoiding work. Isn't that weird?
People who are gay.
But speaking of avoiding work, you're in the middle of some very important work right now.
I'm creating a new type of work.
It's a new form of work. Well, you were talking about how you got into you've been fucking eyebrow deep in Skyrim VR, the gift that God, and by God I mean God Howard, has given all of us. You're working on a mod that makes the timer on the fucking buffs. Was it a potion? Like you drink a potion, it's like increases your smithing for 30 seconds.
It's one of the problems I always had with the game. They're all tiny. Most of the mods for anything I ever play are simple. Their quality of life changes.
Or they're trying to be too lore friendly, where it's like it's realistic in this universe, and it's like, who gives a shit?
And in this case, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, realistic in this universe. We're talking about a potion that makes you better at being able to put magic on your clothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and the thing is, yeah, for 30 seconds, it's like, if I name, like if I'm
crafting, you didn't even mention that part. Nobody knows what you're talking about anymore.
Think of what to name it if I'm
buff that lasts for 30 seconds to change out your fucking clothing to make it more powerful. Mm-hmm. If you can't think of a name while you're doing it, though, you just wasted 30 seconds. The timer is going while you're looking at the change name field.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because, I mean, all of this is improved massively in the wonderful, superior game, Fallout 4, and of course, Fallout 76. Classic.
Even better. Although you can't mod it. But
I mean, they got the shared stash.
You're going to have to accept it.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're about to change shit in that too, by the way.
Yeah.
They're about to, because they're constantly trying to change things. If somebody has a complaint, they try and be like, okay, how can we change this? How will we edit this?
All that's important, though, is the shared stash. Is that fixes so many problems in any video game where it's an RPG where you have crafting, especially any crafting with any depth to it at all, even very little depth. You need some kind of system where all your crafting materials just sort of teleport into the forge or something. You don't have to have it on you. I still remember doing that in New Vegas, physically just hefting, being over encumbered by like several hundreds of pounds just to drag all of my crafting materials to one bench right outside of the fucking the motel room or whatever the fuck. And just being like, why doesn't it just draw from a universal thing? And finally, in the underrated, legendary classic game, game-changing for all eternity, important game, Fallout 4, they just have a universal stash where you dump everything, all your junk, your crafting materials, whatever you want, into this one workshop.
Well, don't forget also, and this is still a problem for me now in Skyrim VR, I'm fucking trying to haul all this extra shit around on me. It slows you to a motherfucking crawl.
Yeah.
In Fallout 4, there's a perk, and in Fallout 76, by default, if you're over and encumbered, it starts to drain your stamina. You can still move normally, the same speed as you normally fucking move.
Just like in the MST3K movie version of The Silent Earth, where they go to normal view. It's just having a normal speed is a good thing. It's a good, wonderful, classic thing.
This Island Earth, not the Silent Earth.
The Silent Earth? What? No. No.
Ancestor Mothwing? What the fuck is an Ancestor Mothwing? Fuck this shit.
But we're talking about that because talking about this other shit is
makes me want to vomit.
It's also just old news, and in general, anyone who's been keeping up with any facts at all isn't going to be learning anything new from the stuff we're going to cover in the stream, which we plan to just cover as quickly as possible so we can go back to fucking I want to go back to Into the Radius. I want to go into the radius into the radius.
Entering a radius.
I would like to go into a radius, and then you're fucking goofing around with all the Skyrim VR and mods. And I started up a little Skyrim VR to be like,
once again. In fact, that's one of the things is I'm gonna play a bunch of stuff in VR, experience the world of Skyrim in VR. Oh, it's so amazing. Then I'm gonna kind of zip through it mostly, beat it, uninstall it, and then I'm going to reinstall the new version of Skyrim that has like the mechanic where you have to wear bundles of fur to keep warm, and it's like, oh yeah, yes,
and managing your fucking cube time and your fingle time,
the most important times.
Yeah, but anyways,
fingle time.
So we basically all we're going to do is play this short video that some of it reestablishes.
Fuck. I almost, my fucking lungs tried to fucking climb out of my throat just thinking about this bullshit.
Here's someone saying, would you recommend Skyrim VR if someone has already has Skyrim, or the new anniversary version would be better suited? If you have VR, you fucking want Skyrim VR, because the whole advantage of VR is that it's got the it has the most advanced form of aiming, the most precision for aiming for guns. And then when it comes to melee, it's like there's nothing more fun than actually swinging your arm at a dragon to fucking kill it.
The bow aiming in particular, I like.
Yeah, it works a lot better than I thought it would, because I've played other games with some bow aiming that just doesn't have aiming. You're just free firing. Like, there's this little, really old jank VR game from a bunch of years ago that looks like a game from 2002, or it looks like a PlayStation 1 graphics game. It's cute, but I had a lot of problems trying to get it started. Every VR game has some new problem where every one of them controls differently. Every one of them has some weird jank thing that is like, oh, this game doesn't let you fucking do any turning or snap. Like, it's called Vanishing Realms. It doesn't let you move. It doesn't let you do movement. It doesn't let you turn. It doesn't let you walk. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I accidentally went into the menu, turned my head all the way around, and saw that there were hidden menu items that
turned your body
behind my fucking head, just sitting there.
Turn all the way your body around.
Yeah, to physically turn my fucking head and body around to see this fucking other part of the menu. Just avoid room scale games if you ever get a VR thing. But I started playing that, and then it's like, okay, now that I got that handled, it's like, okay, I can fucking sort of play it. There's no vacuuming though, which again, other VR games realized that you kind of need vacuuming.
That's one of the things that
vacuuming.
Half-Life Alyx gets right away.
Well, also like the Walking Dead game and a lot of other games in general.
In particular, with
like an extra foot away from your hand to picture.
Well, in Half-Life Alyx, it can be like 50 feet.
Yeah, it literally has gravity.
It's a mechanic built into the lore. They even name it. They call them the gravity gloves, and it's like they call them the Russells, and they get called the Russells until the end of the game.
But they're gravity gloves. I'm calling them gravity gloves. I'm not calling them Russells.
Motherfucker.
That son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Anyways,
you son of a bitch. How are you?
The reason why I brought up Vanishing Realms though is that eventually I get a bow, and there's no aiming, there's no reticle. You can't tell where your arrows are going to fire, and it aims by how you're holding the bow and the arrow together, and it tries to give you a little leeway, but it's weirdly random or not specific, and it's not fucking very tight. But it does at least give you infinite arrows. Whereas in Skyrim, of course, you get the 10 different arrows, just like regular Skyrim. You get the 10 different arrows. They're not infinite. They'll give you a lot, but and they're weightless too, I'm pretty sure, aren't they? But
What? The arrows?
Yeah, aren't arrows weightless in Skyrim?
I'm trying to think. I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure they were, because I was carrying hundreds of them at some point and never even noticing the fucking cost of the weight. But you get the thing is that the bow aiming in Skyrim just has a very nice tight snap to your aim, tight. And it just, when you pull back on the string, it automatically lines the bow up straight and lines it up forward, and the bow and the arrow go straight from your eyeball, so you can just see it. So there's really not much fiddling around. There's still an element of aiming, of course, but it fucking, it doesn't get too loose so that it's fucking harder to aim. Shen Young-go also says, VR room scale can be fun, but sitting down in a chair, especially when that turns more comfortable. Yeah, I actually sit on the edge of my bed, so I can
I just can't.
the floor and shit.
I just can't.
I just can't. But basically, we got a beanbag chair for you mainly. But I mean, I use it too, especially when playing the Fallout 4 VR, which is very comfy. And then I have that that program. It's OVR fucking Steam. What is it called actually? OVR Advanced Settings, which adds more advanced settings to Steam VR's options thing. So I can adjust my own height in the game, so that if I'm like sitting on the beanbag chair on the floor, I can just make myself as tall as I need to be in the game for games that make that matter, where some games don't fucking matter. Like Alex doesn't exactly. It just sets your height. It's like, here, you're going to be this tall or something like that.
But it doesn't ever fuck with you over that.
Well, because VR games that expect you to be standing up the entire time, it's like sometimes I just want to play a game. So I want to relax and play a game and not be fucking literally jumping through hoops in VR. I want to relax. And I mean, sitting up on the edge of the bed, like as long as I'm making sure not to slouch too much and fucking I'm going to destroy my spine. But that's good. What's not good and not nearly as important is again something that we like. I'm not bragging or trying to gloat or anything. We have unironically pioneered information about Comicsgate and all that stuff. So the whole story of Comicsgate, the only truth in telling the story of Comicsgate came from us exclusively, and that's not something I'm saying. That's something other people have said to me, and about us. Even on stream, not in private or anything, but just on streaming, that kind of thing. But so really, if you want to get the real news, so that's why we want to do kind of one last video about the whole thing, because, well, for a lot of reasons, because it just involves us, and it has involved us for a long time. Basically, in a way, the criticism, in fact, that we'll get into that, and this video actually sort of touches on it in a sort of accidental admission that I thought that was really funny recently, is that Comicsgate takes criticism by going into denial. And again, none of this is my opinion or even my speculation or anything. This is something that they themselves are admitting now, is that they take criticism by going into denial, attacking each other sometimes, and just generally having conniptions and meltdowns and spurt fits. So we decided, we'll just do a little extra sum up for the end of the year of something that's really overlooked, but objectively true and has been proven thousands of times over in the past year alone. And but is also, overlooked. A lot of people burying their heads in the sand about this, but is completely irrefutable, and that is that Ethan Van Sciver is basically involved in criminal activity. So we'll just sort of pot up this primer video, and then we'll go into some of the other stuff afterwards. And then right after that, it's back to Skyrim and Into the Radius and shit. So here, I'm going to play this. This should work because we tested it. So.
Well, we got one more backer, Liam. We're now at 606.
Are we serious at 606?
What's caused the
the jump?
I don't know. Ethan backed my book,
Ethan pretty
and
much
then
got
he backed
every
my book a
tier.
bunch of times. He bought like every tier, and then everyone started buying my book like in a big wave.
It's very strange. President Trump retweeted Bean from Pa 3 times today, and that gave me a really bad sinking feeling. The president, who probably is looking very closely at social media and how well the Hunter Biden story is, kind of sinking into social media. How it's he found Bean from Pa obsessing over it, and he retweeted her 3 times. I'm like, do not retweet Pa. That is
Where's my fucking comic book, Ethan? Holy crap. That is the most egotistical asshole I have ever heard.
He is so weak. It's laughable.
The biggest kick in the balls is when an anti-CG or an SJW says something about Comicsgate that you can't defend.
Whoopsie daisy!
Fucking that last clip is especially funny because the guy, you can see the guy's face. He looks like he found out his parents just died, and he's talking like
his parents disowned him, then died.
My parents disowned me, then committed suicide and died. And they said I'm not getting anything in the book. Just fucking, I love it. It gives me sick pleasure.
Mad sick pleasures.
Disgusting. Let's see, where's the fucking share screen? Well, sure. Actually, I should put it on the other one, shouldn't I? Yeah, the answer to that is yes. Oh yeah, screen 2. Or window, actually, yeah, that's better. I haven't done this in a long ass time too. So basically gonna just go over some of the other touches of things in which generally the evidence, most of that is spelled out, and again, all of it's been public. None of this is new. In fact, it happened around late last year, where and there's, in the aftermath, there's been a lot of cope and making excuses and really desperate damage control to cover up the fact that it's pretty irrefutable that Ethan Van Sciver paid Liam Gray. Liam Gray false flagged our channel. Ethan was gloating about how it was happening. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff starts. Well, what happened was that Liam Gray had been a convicted criminal already. He was a convicted criminal by that, like a couple of years ago, for a couple of years now. And there's that court case, which has also been shown many other places. I don't even know if I have the screenshot of that because I tend not to keep this shit. Ethan Liam, the first thing was it turned out, he was going to be in court for assault, and it was against someone named Faye Gray, same name, and so the guess was that it was his wife. And then it was like, oh, it's an older lady, so it's probably his mom. And then it turns out Liam denied it. and then in private admitted it, that it was his grandma. But what he said was that he actually like fought his brother or something. And it's very weird because there's been a lot of other things Liam has said that's just he's contradicted himself about. So it's really hard to say in general, but what's undeniable is that Liam Gray had a court case where he was for committing assault and that kind of thing. And he got caught on that. And after that, he was still getting the support of Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate. So he was a criminal at that time. And as the video shows, Ethan Van Sciver paid him, at least $1,000 publicly to his Indiegogo. And of course, when you're doing that, you're not just doing it for books, of course. I mean, that'll be part of the cope, and that was. Although it wasn't also. They didn't even try to pretend that Ethan was just paying him for his books. There was actually a weird memory holing of the whole thing where people tried to pretend that none of that ever happened, that Comicsgate didn't support Liam Gray, even though he got $80,000. So either that $80,000, the funding on Indiegogo is completely imaginary and you can create just fake backing and money that doesn't exist, or Comicsgate paid Liam Gray $80,000 to support him. And when you're supporting somebody, you are supporting their behavior, regardless of if you say, "Oh, I'm separating the art from the artist." People don't really do that. That's just a meme. It's an empty meme.
Let's also face it. There's no art there. He's terrible at what he does. This is what scammers tend to do.
Yeah, his writing was terrible. I'm in an objective sense, but I mean, you can't really get comic book fans to understand, the quantifiable attributes of writing, and they don't understand structure. As you can see by the comics that they do. I'm not talking about Comicsgate. I'm talking about comic book fans. It's way bigger than all of that. Is that fans and fandom in general are people who are the worst at judging everything, the worst kind of customers, because they have no morals, no principles. In fact, they will say a principle and then do the exact opposite in practice. Like a lot of them say, I'm for freedom of speech, and then they support false flagging and lying, which is, we've shown many examples of that throughout all sorts of fandoms, throughout YouTube and comic books. But, it's just limiting it all to comic books is very tiny and kind of irrelevant. We're just fucking involved in comic books because we're creators. We've actually outproduced Ethan himself this year alone. But also
I actually wanted to point out, in particular, I'm about to outproduce every single member of Comicsgate and War Campaign combined, except for Ethan.
It's pretty good.
Assuming he's actually done what he claims, which we can't do.
That's part of the plans of next year. We're going into next year with like this year, we put out like a couple books, and not as many as I wanted to, but big ups to Archulay, who actually put in a lot of work while having a lot of problems at home and in society, which is as we all know, paused AF. But he was he worked with me to get out a couple comic books on our own. And again, we did that, just firing that off. No crowdfunding campaigns, no fucking grifting.
Yeah, I want people to understand that. This is something people will skim over. They'll be like, you're not as big of a deal as Comicsgate. No crowdfunding campaign.
That proves our point. That because what we've been saying for several years before Comicsgate ever existed is that if you tell the truth, you're always going to have a smaller audience. People don't want to really hear a harsh truth that
we're kind of like the Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah, exactly. No, we basically are. We're the white Patrice O'Neill. While Patrice was the black Dr. Phil, we're the white Patrice O'Neill. Both of us combined. I mean, that's not even fucking us gloating or fucking joking. That's actually what we're like. But yeah, it's been an old canard, if you will, of the human race. That old saying of a lie gets halfway around the world while the truth is still getting its pants on. That's represented by us, is that we've been telling the truth that has evidence to it, and the other people, it's especially in Comicsgate, will instead believe the lies even with no evidence, or in our case, when the evidence directly refutes what they believe. And that's what the real NPC behavior was always meant to represent, and to mean, was that people who are just incapable of sentient thought. And that's what, essentially comic book fans as a whole are really fans. The problem, as we've also been saying for years now, is the idea of fans. A fan is a person who judges their own merit of their lives based on their inability to think independently or critically. They judge the merit of their life based on how much they can fit in with other people, even if those other people are lying or wrong. But again, that's fucking, we didn't mean to get into all the context of how the human race works. We know that a lot of people who watch these videos are not smart enough to understand them. The people who have been following us are smart enough, but the rest of the normie cattle out there, it just goes over their heads, and they immediately tune it out and act like that nothing was said, even though all of it is not only true, but it's what they themselves will be saying a year from now, which is what happened with all the stuff we said in the last year and the year before that. Even Comicsgate themselves, even Ethan Van Sciver. In fact, we'll be showing some examples of that. But just to get into the whole point, Liam Gray, convicted criminal, who also made up lies about us showing pirating his comic, because we did what happened to it. We did a review of his comic, and he said that we showed the entire comic. Now, our review proves that that's not true. We didn't show the entire comic. In fact, we barely showed any of it. We showed a few portions of it, about 5 pages on average total in the entire. It was like a 4-part review. One of them was another, and the thing is that the first one was one he uploaded for free as some kind of attempt at a contest, which of course he didn't win. I don't even know if he placed, but then the other part was some kind of prequel comic to his main comic, and he acted like that was pirated by us showing it, but the link came from him. Like, he linked to the comic on his Twitter. So we got that link and then, scrolled through very small portions of it. Usually just settling on individual panels, not even showing pages. But something that, everyone in Comicsgate had been doing for years too, is like ya boy Zach would just flip through an entire comic on his phone. And then he would say, oh, let me just skip a page so they can't say that I'm showing the whole thing. But it doesn't matter, because if you're just fucking...
Yeah, he never got in trouble for that. I think his main concern there was getting demonetized or some shit.
Yeah. And again, nothing happened as a result of that. The only thing happens is if somebody, like, say this, fucking decides to try and strike. Now, again, there's tons more context to this, but here's what he says in this one tweet from September 1st of last year. They are complaining I struck their channel twice because they had multiple videos up on my manga, because he calls his comic as a manga, which it isn't. I'll do it again too, and I'll take their Patreon.
It's not a manga.
I'm at it. They are not legally permitted to profit from my art, which we weren't. First of all, none of our videos were ever monetized, and we weren't available for it. But we also, as we said, we're not going to ever monetize our channel, no matter how many people.
So that's just him being a crybaby bitch.
Yeah. Well, and also lying. He claims that he says that we did videos on his manga and then lied about us profiting from it, which we didn't, and we never claimed to and never tried to. Yeah, that's the thing, is that what happened was, as he later admitted, he didn't like that searching for his comic and his name would show up with negative reviews. And the thing is that, yeah, he struck our channel for copyright strikes. And so the thing is that to basically goad him and Comicsgate collectively into supporting false flagging, we made all the videos public immediately. He struck all of them just walking into a trap, and then immediately was forced to be condemned by anyone who is paying attention. In fact, a lot of other creators in the comics industry, in Marvel and DC, started making fun of Liam Gray.
That was my favorite
even
part
other
of all.
people in Comicsgate started making fun of Liam Gray. But the one person who didn't, the one person who still supported him, was Ethan Van Sciver, as we had already shown just now. And the thing is that, so he struck all of our videos, and if you get 3 copyright strikes, your channel gets pulled. The thing is that it was up to him to like press charges or something, which he said he was going to do.
He still hasn't, by the way.
Well, for reasons we'll get into. But what happened was, eventually YouTube was sort of, he kept pressing because he wanted YouTube to essentially give him our private information or something, which YouTube didn't have. And is kind of funny, but the because he was trying to really press it as much as he could, YouTube eventually had to review it, and actually review it in review, not fucking what he claimed later was a bot reviewed it and released it. But what happened was that YouTube was forced to review the strikes and realized that they were covered under fair use. So they released the strikes because they had no choice, and then they released our channel. So our channel went back up. And then, as a result, came those videos of Liam after he shaved his head, looking like he gotten hit by a bus or something, with really dark circles under his eyes.
Shaved his head kind of like as if he was in a mental institution.
Yeah, which actually he said that he was, basically. He said he actually ended up going to the hospital after YouTube released our channel. It goes to show it's about more than any of this. Whatever Liam's saying, if he's going to the hospital because YouTube let our channel continue to exist, it's clearly about a complete schizo and proven pathological liar. Again, not my accusation. It's been confirmed, and convicted criminal also in his case.
And gay.
Yeah, and the thing is, on top of all that, Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate did still support him openly and publicly, which, again, we just showed. So anyone trying to deny that Comicsgate didn't support him or that Ethan didn't support him, you are denying visual, physical evidence. But here's something else that's, this is kind of random though, but from also 2020, just to show that Ethan, this is completely out of order. I just have a folder of some screen caps that I was going to show on this video stream. But this is still a public video. This one's or a stream or Twitter tweet. And this one's archived of Ethan Van Sciver saying, should have listened to War Campaign. Now, War Campaign was his personal dox and brigading and false flagging squad that he paid. There's a public paper trail of him giving them money, and then they would dox people. One of them was actually convicted of stalking somebody else who was just a general critic, didn't even really make videos or anything. Someone just, once criticized Ethan, so they had War Campaign for months obsessing with to the point where a guy was following the guy around, and he ended up getting arrested and had to plead guilty. He had to plead out. So he's a different convicted criminal.
And I also want to point something out. We've never been convicted of anything.
We've never been charged or even accused of anything.
Never been charged, never been convicted, never been caught.
I mean, that almost makes it sound like we've gotten away with something, but we've never even gotten away with something. All that we've done is just been critical and used critical.
We've never gotten away with anything we've ever done.
Yes,
because we've never done anything like that.
And I wouldn't want to get away with anything we've ever done. I enjoy not getting away with anything. Because if I can actually, as we've proven now, as the past years have objectively proven, it always works out for us. As there used to be that saying, even before Comicsgate ever existed, even before Gamergate existed, is that SWC always wins. And this is why, because we don't take sides. We just
This is what it means
analyze
to
the
have
facts.
integrity.
Yeah.
People don't seem to understand what it's like to have integrity. And it's for us.
And it's why guys like Tim and Mark like us too, by the way. That's why we're friends with them, is because they just focus on the reality, the integrity of it, if you will. It's just the reality of the facts of the nature.
It's why we still have regular communication with people like Doug TeNapel, who definitely likes us. He's a big fan of ours.
Although the weird thing is he's friends with War Campaign, and now War Campaign hates Ethan Van Sciver. And
I don't think he's doing that for real. I think he's just using them. I
don't care. I really don't give a shit, because I'm just indifferent to all that, because again, our thing has always been our thing, independent of everything else. Everyone else, there are no sides to this. There's just us telling the truth and everyone else's business, which is irrelevant to us and our objective reality, which we are masters of on a level that nobody else is even capable of perceiving. And again, that's not me saying that. That's other people had been forced to admit that. Sort of like Ethan here, forced to admit on accident that he also took that old saying, should have listened to SWC, which was, again, a warning from years ago about how, we call something and then years later, everyone else realizes that it was true, to the point where it's so many years later, people don't realize that it came from us. But again, the people who've been following us have been aware of.
We just actually, I hadn't thought about him in maybe a year, but there was a certain YouTubing douchebag who is way into cape shit, who it turns out just a couple months ago had stolen an idea for one of our videos.
But there are several people who stole our, like we did the first ever videos talking about how manga was outselling American comics. We did the first videos about that ever, and that was years back. And now you see a lot of other people doing that, and that's another example of the whole.
In fact, I'm pretty sure our videos, the ones that we posted about that, they're still the earliest compared to anyone else ever talking about it. Ours
even the back oldest. And the thing is that you could on our old channel, the one that got pulled down eventually, because Liam Gray was false flagging us, and it is false flagging, by the way. He tries to cope and say it's not false flagging if it's legitimate, but it was false flagging because
it was illegitimate.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, if it wasn't illegitimate, fucking YouTube definitely wouldn't have released the strikes. But on top of that, what he did was afterwards, like a month later, he started running around behind to YouTube in private and telling them that we were harassing him and all this shit, and just got our channel pulled entirely for harassment, which part of that can't even other people in Comicsgate reported false flagging us for lies about harassment too. The whole that umbrella guy made up fake death threats against himself and then claimed that we had done them without ever linking to, like, here's the proof. He refused to prove it. He just told people listen and believe, and they did, because that's what fans do. That's what Comicsgate in practice. That's what Comicsgate in practice does.
Remember, that's what the enemy
listen and believe to anyone who lies about anything that tells them.
It's a tactic of their supposed enemies, the dreaded evil SJWs.
Yeah. Also, that's another thing that they do, is that if somebody proves them wrong, like if somebody proves somebody in Comicsgate wrong, Comicsgate just says, "Oh, you're an SJW," and then fucking.
We have evidence of Comicsgate ripping off their customers. Blocking people asking for refunds because their comic is essentially a grift.
Yeah.
And then guess what? When you point that out, they'll call you an SJW, which goes to show they're just grifters.
Well, they're also SJWs in practice. Like, you can call them crypto SJWs.
They are basically, crypto SJWs. It's like sort of like a glow in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're basically like enemy agents, like a double agent or something like that. Controlled opposition, something like that too. But
It's something I wouldn't even call them that, because even an enemy agent still believes in something. They have an ideology that they are true to.
well, maybe in some cases, perhaps. But anyways, this thing I was showing though because is very ironic because people like they'd really gotten under Ethan Van Sciver's skin was people telling him should have listened to SWC for pointing out that Ethan lied about this or that thing, or that his comic wouldn't come out. Like, for example, we called a few months ago that Ethan's comic wasn't going to come out this year, and now it's indeed too late for him to fucking. His comic is still not finished. It's over a year late, and we said it's not going to even be done this year. He had the entire year to finish it. He did nothing. He just streamed a bunch of gay drama and shit and pandering. That's all the movement is essentially pandering to really desperate nerds who want to be told that they're winning the culture war against the SJWs as they themselves behave like the SJWs. They want to.
It's basically it's an easy target that they were able to pick out to grift people with. We're going to fight the SJWs in comics. How are you going to do that? It really drove
even Ethan got driven up the wall. He basically the same way that Liam started to look really sick. Ethan actually, his hair went gray over the course of just the past year alone. As we like to say, that drink looked like he drank from the wrong grail looking ass motherfucker.
He's seen shit that'll turn him white,
and it did, of course. But yeah, it's visibly aging him the same way that it did to Liam Gray, and it goes to show why Ethan Van Sciver in private was friends with Liam Gray until the proof of what happened was Liam Gray then went on to commit a felony after getting our channel pulled. Because he got our channel pulled not because he wanted our channel pulled, but for reasons we'll get into. And again, are old news and have been public for a long time. But yeah, I thought it was funny that the should have listened to SWC got under Ethan's skin so bad that he said should have listened to War Campaign, and now War Campaign hates him and admits that they took money to basically like dox and false flag. And
I don't think there's anybody who likes him. In fact, that's the thing is we haven't really heard anything else about him in a while. It used to be back in like 2019. You'd be like, oh, Ethan Van Sciver did this thing. Ethan Van Sciver is saying this. We haven't heard anything from him in a year.
It's because most people don't even pay attention for those fucking reasons. People are just sort of over the movement, even Comicsgate supporters, as we've shown. Like we showed those couple of clips from one of Ethan's own customers. And we saw that yesterday, and somebody made clips, and it's like, there, I could just throw that into a thing real quick for today's stream. So I did. But anyways, yeah, the Ethan on Kiwi Farms mentions while this was happening, it doesn't have the date, but this is a screen cap of the post that he made on Kiwi Farms late last year, late 2020-ish. Somebody pointing out they said this would happen, which I'm sure is about us. Don't think they'll be that bothered, as it shows Comicsgate will use the same cowardly tactics as SJW cancel culture, which is, yeah, this was directly about us. And again, that's why I made the videos public, so that Liam would basically walk into the trap of showing that he, and by proxy or direct connection, Comicsgate supported all of the exact same tactics that the SJWs did. And they proved us right. And, you know, there is no refuting that. That's why even the other people in Comicsgate are doing these mope streams saying, like, oh, there's nothing worse than when one of the antis or the SJWs says something about Comicsgate and you can't even argue against it. And it's like, yeah, that's been true for a long time, though. Like, directly in confrontation to Comicsgate, we've shown that Comicsgate will not even try to argue. They will do like an ad hominem or name calling, but they won't have any argument. And we've proven that years ago, back in 2018, directly fucking confronting Ethan about it. Just I went on stream with Ethan and accidentally played him into contradicting himself in the time span of like 10 seconds. And again, that's old news. That goes far back. We've gone over that so many times at this point. But Ethan shows why he wanted Liam Gray to dox us for him, and why he paid Liam Gray to try to dox us and at least get our channel shut down. As he says here, they're insufferable, anonymous douchebags who smear people for fun, which is, again, that's the whole thing, is that they're smearing people. Oh, yeah, how? Because they're bad. They said a thing. And it's like, what? What thing?
They pointed out that I'm stealing from my customers. Wait, are you stealing from your customers? Why would you admit to that?
Yeah, exactly. That's how we smeared people, is like, oh, your comic's still late, and all you're doing is streaming. They're smearing us. Look how they do it. Just that kind of shit.
Why would I want to give money to somebody who has a proven track record of not producing?
Does that to you? But then Ethan, very interestingly, quotes his friend Liam saying SWC used DA Talks as a buffer, so my lawyer could not serve the papers. Now,
wow, that's a brilliant move, huh?
I would have no problem utterly annihilating Liam Gray's life in a fucking lawsuit that, just destroying him in a frivolous lawsuit that he would present and lose very easily. But I mean, that would still take time. And the point wasn't to serve us papers. The point was to get our docs and leak them throughout the internet and that kind of stuff.
Because that's the thing, is while he absolutely knows for sure he would lose the fucking case, he would get our docs.
And here's Ethan Van Sciver publicly supporting this behavior. As he quotes Liam Gray, who he was, they were on streams all the time back then. Now Ethan pretends that never happened, of course, but again, it's old news and all of it's public. Ethan did go back and delete like millions of views worth of videos, and again, that a video showing that and actually showing the graph of the giant down spike in his channel, where he deleted probably hundreds of videos off of his channel to cover up how he was great friends with Liam Gray and probably also with War Campaign, of course. There's a huge chunk of missing videos from his channel, and also from Richard C. Myers, interestingly enough. But we've gone over that a long time ago too. Let's see. YouTube is aware of it, and their videos were reinstated by the bot, which doesn't even explain what that's supposed to mean, but that never happened. Our videos and our channel wasn't reinstated by any bot. It was actually reinstated by an actual review. Their whole channel is still under review and will probably be nuked this week. So this is, again, Liam and Ethan Van Sciver both admitting that they're supporting nuking our channel because they don't want people to be able to criticize them. And they support false flagging in order to do it.
And nobody else puts the fear into them as much
as we do, which again, it's I don't know why it's us who does it, aside from the fact that we just talk honestly, which is, again, something that has actually made fans of other creators for us. We've actually gotten, like, if you like fucking actual good comics, the people making the best comics actually like our comics and our channel, because they know that we'll just speak openly about the truth, not to fucking protect anyone's feelings, just because it is the truth, and that's all that matters. And again, that's not me. That's not my assessment of how I think things are. That's how other people have assessed things and explained to us why they like our videos and our channel and even our comics, to the point where we're getting hired by other comic creators to make comics with them. Even people who don't work with other creators anymore, they fucking actually did that. Arxelay is one of them, but I'm also talking about Tim and Mark, where they hired us to make the backup story for the Walmart 3, and it would be nice to do other things in the future, but there, it's had this, not a backlash. In fact, they've had continued success, if you will. But there's been like other schizos, which goes into some of the other videos, and we won't dredge this up again because we've already done other videos. In fact, more videos about it are going to be on our lovely Subscribe Star on the Pig paywall. But how there are other schizos in anti-Comicsgate now, who all of them were former Comicsgate, but now they're like, oh, Tim and Mark, they support the new war campaign. And it's like, you're friends with war campaign though. So are you saying that's a bad thing about your friends? It's really fucking schizo on their part. And it's just really intricate, stupid bullshit on their parts, and really has nothing to do with us or even them or Tim and Mark. But there's this weird contingent offshoot of former jilted Comicsgate supporters who are now the antis, to the extent that any anti-Comicsgate even exists, which really there isn't. As we've said already, there's shitty webcomics, us, and then there's anti-shitty webcomics. That's the actual thing. And Comicsgate just happens to be part of the anti-shitty webcomics, along with SJWs, because this is also very important to bring up. And in fact, I want to front load this, but we are the only people who've been actually deplatformed and censored by the SJWs and Comicsgate. So when we say that Comicsgate is the same as the SJWs and in favor of deplatforming, it's not from an accusation, it's from actual practice, it's from it happening. Our channel, our first thing was our blog. Our old original comics review blog got pulled as like a personal favor from somebody who worked at Marvel and went on to work at.
Again, it goes to show we're the real thing. We're the ones that these people are running in fear from.
But yeah, we got deplatformed first by the SJWs, and then later Comicsgate came, and they may bury their heads in the sand about this and say, oh, we don't support false flagging and deplatforming, but by practice they have, in praxis, if you will. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this post continues to go on, of Ethan quoting his friend Liam saying, we're working on getting their names and address. See, that's what they really wanted. Ethan including. This is Ethan admitting that he wanted our names and address so we can serve them and bring them to court. Keep it to yourself, please. This is fucking good job keeping it to yourself, Ethan. But let them celebrate and proclaim victory. Well, that's fucking looking at your fucking sales.
Don't worry, we won't be waiting for your permission.
Yeah, exactly. I want them sloppy and saying stupid shit that incriminates themselves. How'd that work out for you? Again, this was 2020, so how did that work out for you? But here's Ethan's reaction is crazy that they let Liam get the last laugh on them. Did they? Is that what happened?
Is that what happened? I didn't end up in a mental hospital.
I mean, I didn't end up burning Liam's books as a desperate form of damage control to avoid the very real notice of you paying somebody for doxing and false flagging. Anyways, here's just the next thing. Again, all of this is just completely random, so none of it's sorted because I didn't care that much about fucking like getting this all together, but all of it paints the complete picture if you're capable of actually seeing the big picture, which we are and always have been. And we notice that people who aren't always, fall away or leave or something. And it's like, that's good. It's sort of self-correcting.
We're purity testing the shit out of all these followers,
which is for sure good. Purity testing.
If there's one thing I've learned, it's that we need to purity test.
Yeah, so more. We don't do nearly enough. I think we go too easy on people.
I used to not do it, and then it ended up resulting in us needing to do it more and more.
Harder, if you will. More and harder. But here's some stuff. It's funny, it says 4 hours ago, even though it's from, again, most likely last year or something. I had to find somebody who had screenshots of
Yeah,
this
it's
stuff.
just a screen
Some of
cap.
this stuff I did keep. I have a folder of just Comicsgate cuckery that just like stuff like like people in Comicsgate, making false death threats against themselves and that kind of shit, which I fucking throw in there just because it,
The folders
they're like
bigger than-
trophies.
if you had a folder of their successes and a folder of their failures.
Yes. The folder of their successes would be empty, and the folder of their failures would be just fucking thousands of times more of this
You would
shit.
have
More than I keep.
subfolders. It'd have subfolders that have semi-success, and then that would also be empty too.
It's sort of like Dexter, how he would keep trophies, or I guess any serial killer. We're kind of like that, except instead of serial killing, it's more like rape, and it's rape over the internet, a sort of digital rape in cyberspace, if you will, a rape in cyberspace. And so we keep the trophies of that to gloat over. I don't know. Is that incriminating? I don't know. I hope Liam Gray doesn't do anything with it. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. And it was Jim Tuner, though, from last year, went over the claims. This is just a couple comments he made going over the claims about Liam Gray's claim that he had the right to copyright strike us and that kind of shit. Jim Tuner basically deconstructs that. I'm not sure if I'll read the whole thing, but here he says Liam's claim that the Crown would be handling a case of copyright infringement is really out there. What he's suggesting would only happen in the case of criminal copyright infringement in Australia. The standard for criminal copyright infringement in Australia would be that the copyright infringement harmed a community as a whole, or it somehow impacted public order within the community. No competent person in the legal profession in Australia would say these things to anyone. I would love to fucking take on a lawsuit to just be sued the shit out of by Liam Gray or Comicsgate or anything. But we know that they're not trying to sue us. They're just trying to dox us. Otherwise, I absolutely would have given out our fucking real names and home address and phone number and fucking dick size and all that shit. And height, 5'1", 500 pounds, 5'1". You're going to be in the Bible, son. I think those are the lyrics. I don't know. The gunt becomes the violent one. The fucking it's poetic. It's really beautiful. It's beautiful, man. Anyways,
the gunt Comicsgate.
Aren't. I think Jim Tuner left these comments on Nick Rekieta's stream where he had Liam Gray on to talk about the fucking copyright strikes. And one thing I think is very important to notice is that Nick Rekieta at most had a very limp-wristed, wishy-washy condemnation of copyright striking if it was false or something. But then he was like, well, if it's a legitimate copyright strike, like he wouldn't even look into it. He didn't look into Jim Tuner looked into Australian law more than Nick Rekieta did. It's very weird. And the thing is that what actually happened, most people don't know this, it's deep background lore shit, is that Nick Rekieta had Liam Gray on because Liam Gray is a friend of Ethan Van Sciver. So he figured it was an easy setup for somebody that Nick Rekieta hated, is to have Liam Gray basically trash DA Talks in representation of us in a way too. But also to go after DA Talks because DA Talks did a video trashing that Umbrella guy for not trashing, but like revealing that Umbrella guy lied. And we had a fucking history of Umbrella guy lying about us and that kind of shit. But Nick Rekieta has been gunt guarding, if you will, for that Umbrella guy and a lot of other people as well. Formerly for Ethan Ralph until like 2 weeks ago, where
these
Ralph
people all self-destruct eventually.
Rekieta.
That's part of their fucking mechanic there.
Rekieta was Ethan Ralph's lawyer, and then most likely a lot of other people are claiming Rekieta as legal counsel so that they can sort of keep each other's secrets. But it's clear that Rekieta was having Liam Gray on to sort of, to sort of go after the critics and the antis and that kind of thing, and it backfired massively. And you could see Rekieta can barely cope with it. He really tries his best to not address it or have any condemnation of anything Liam says, except for when he is essentially forced to make a choice between sacrificing his all the last shreds of his credibility, or admit that, yeah, fucking fair use may cover a review. And then later he was forced to admit that without saying anything, he was like, false flagging is wrong, by the way, without saying that we shouldn't be false flagged, of course, because he behind the scenes, it turned out Rekieta was more than happy to have our channel false flagged and pulled down. Which, again, he would never admit to in public, but in private he has. But anyways, yeah, Jim Tuner mentions the timestamp and saying Liam Gray is wrong on this point, and wrote in particular on Australian copyright law. The fact that they make broad social commentary with his work and not focused on his work gives them additional protection as general social commentary. Yeah, that was another thing. Is some people try to defend Liam Gray about our reviews by saying that our review didn't really even talk about the comic, which we did. We talked about the comic and specifically gave critical analysis of several parts of it. But we also talked about like dozens of other things, as we tend to do in all of our
We're a big picture like that.
Yeah. We're kind of gods and masters of all topics like that, if you will. But that was one of his defenses. Like, they didn't even talk about the comic. They were just talking about other shit. And it's like, well, in that case, we're definitely protected under fair use because we're not talking about your comic.
I mean, I understand
though, was that we showed all of his comic, which again,
YouTube is basically cancer.
Our video proved that we didn't.
YouTube is a shit platform. And so I understand that YouTube doesn't understand how to even manage. You go to any serious person who is trying to make videos on YouTube, they'll tell you YouTube's a bad platform.
Yeah. I mean,
management is a terrible fucking shit show.
Going back for years and years, we're like, yeah, YouTube is a terrible place because the same way that Dumbler, as we knew when we fucking registered in like 2011 on Tumblr, we're like, this is a terrible platform. So
that's also, and I was talking about this earlier today. Mm-hmm. It's like this is where Tumblr is the Iranian wedding shooting 100 AKs up into the air.
Yes,
that's where you drop the napalm.
Yes, fucking napalm sticks to any kid.
That's where you drop the chemical weapons.
Yeah, yes. Sounds great. We officially, as a channel, we officially endorsed that behavior. Anyways, so yeah, there's a lot of bizarre, like, again, it goes to show the cope and rationalizations are things that backfire even on themselves. As Jim Turner mentions, Liam Gray pointing out that we make broad social commentary with his work and not focused on his work. That gives us additional protection. The exact opposite of Liam Gray saying that it should give us less protection and in fact gives us more. Or would, if we were actually ever going to face some kind of lawsuit over reviews of a comic book that, again, was completely public. He posted a public link to a public posting of a webcomic version of like a preview of Xenotype. And he was like, here it is. Everyone can read it. And he started telling, oh, yeah, it's got 1 million views. And it's like, okay, where's the proof of that? And he never proved it. It's another thing that at all of them, I mean, every last person in Comicsgate always does is they make a claim, don't prove it, and then get mad when you question it. And that's why, like when Ethan Van Sciver says that we smear people, that's actually what he's referring to is questioning people or confronting them with questions that they can't answer or criticism that they have no argument or response to. That's always been true. There's no example or there's no exception to every example of that. Jim Tuner also has another comment there saying Liam Gray's claims about Australia's copyright law are at best misleading and at worst completely wrong. Australian copyright law has exceptions within it called fair dealing exception. And again, this is something that Nick Rekieta, this is in the comments for Nick Rekieta's video, in which Nick Rekieta didn't even try to look up like a cursory
Nick Rekieta ends up
review.
looking like a total novice here. He
Yeah,
looks like a clueless idiot.
Jim Tuner is actually unironically a better lawyer than Nick Rekieta. And
If this was a
I don't
lawyer
think Jim
TV
Tuner's a
show,
lawyer.
if this was a lawyer TV show, Nick Rekieta would be the comical, goofy fucking villain who would be blown the fuck out in the first 5 minutes. He's not even the final villain. He's like an intro fucking. He's like a. He's
He'd
just
be
a
the guy who had the
cardboard
screaming
cutout.
fit on the stand. He would be on the stand having a screaming fit as the fucking cut to the jury of them recoiling in embarrassment at him, which again is something we've actually done to Nick Rekieta, where he just
That's the cold open too.
Like I made a reference to Freddy Got Fingered towards him, and he spent days trying to fucking cope and do damage control. It was also because I called out that he was platforming that Umbrella guy who had made up like fake death threats and also had been responsible for trying to not trying to he was having people false flag our channel over claims that he refused to prove and told people not to look at, which is something that Kate Leth and SJWs did. Also, we fucking posted that recently. I posted that on Twitter recently, just fucking for fun, was when people were talking about like fucking High Guardian Spice, that's terrible, it's worse than even I did it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the one Kate Leth works on, right?
They still watch it too,
Kate
by the
Leth,
way.
when she was telling people to false flag our blog but to not look at it.
We will never tell anybody, don't look at this.
Yeah, exactly. We've
I've
never done
tell
that, and we never will do that.
Somebody
Whereas-
made a claim about us. Don't look at it.
Whereas Kate Leth, SJWs, and Comicsgate, including that Umbrella guy, all have done that, told people to false flag us specifically while saying don't look at that, because they know if you look, you may be proven, you may see evidence of something that completely debunks what they're claiming. And again, after that happened with Tug false flagging our channel and getting his viewers to try and false flag our channel too, Nick Rekieta platformed him, which goes to show Nick Rekieta is also in support of false flagging, which is why, again, as we pointed out, he had Liam Gray on because he had Liam Gray on as an ally. And again, it fucking completely backfired on all of them, as we said it would, which is why that saying of should have listened to shitty webcomics exists, because everyone should. Not my analysis of this. That's not my opinion. That's everyone else's opinion. Everyone else realizes sooner or later that, yeah, we completely called this years in advance. And if you had listened, you would know better. But most people don't know. And people are starting to wake up even about Rekieta. And that's why I'm really glad that Rekieta is getting a lot more traffic, because the more traffic he gets, the worse it's going to fucking turn out for him. We've seen that before from many other people. The fucking implosion is very inevitable, as it has been all the previous times we've seen it, and it's happened. And, this is just another example. We're really just retreading this because it's another good example of how we completely call it every single time. But more specifically is that Ethan Van Sciver is directly complicit in criminal behavior. And again, we haven't gotten into the actual felony yet. But because it's old news, I'm not in no hurry. I'm just kind of hanging out here. But I really like the Jim Turner's comments here, though. If Liam Gray were to obtain a competent legal opinion, implying that he did not while he was on Nick Rekieta's show, he would be informed that the video that he has struck all fall under either review or parody satire, or both. Some of the conditions used to determine fair dealing are the effect of the infringement on the market for the original.
That would be, can you review anything?
Yeah,
Review
it's
anything if you want.
It's weirdly questionable. See, that's the thing about legalese and fucking the verbiage of lawyer shit is the legal system is really just one big a ritual, a certain circular ritual in which I am uncomfortable with the thought of.
It's so circular, it's almost circumcircular.
Yeah, yes, exactly. To quote one of my favorite movie characters from one of my favorite movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I am uncomfortable with the thought of this legal ritual.
It's also one of the things that should be pointed out is when you go outside of America for legal things like this, you're always going to get fucked. People pretend like Canada has protections for freedom of speech, but you just look at it even remotely closely and it doesn't.
Yeah, they don't have basically amendment, and they don't.
You're allowed to have freedom of speech according to the laws of the fucking Queen of England or some shit.
Yeah, they don't have an equivalent to the First Amendment. So it's like, oh, they're subverting the First Amendment. It's like, no, they're not. It's Canada. They've never had anything like that. They're never going to. It's why Canadian artists of any kind come to America, because they can't make things in Canada.
But yeah, especially Canada. There's been a lot of people in Canada, artists and creators of various types, who just got fucked. And yeah, they either had to escape or just accept that they were beaten down.
Anyways, though, going on with the fair dealing, the effect of infringement on the market for the original is like, yeah, if you review something and people like, oh, it sucks, okay, I won't buy it, then it's like...
That was actually one of the big things. That was the first real complaint. The first real whinge that he had was, it's the first, you have to delete this thing because it's the first thing that comes up in results when people search for my comic.
Which, like, again, we'll actually show the evidence of Liam saying that too, but are you accusing Liam Gray of having a sook about it?
Should he be thrown in prison with Chopper? I wish.
I wish that Chopper were still alive. He's fucking Mark Reed was wonderful. He is an example of what I want an Australian to be like, not like Liam Gray. Liam
Gray is an honorary Chinese person.
Yeah, yes.
He's just a bug.
I think that's very fair. Let's see, attribution being given credit to the...
We definitely did that.
We did that. The type of work being copied, which, again, we didn't copy or anything. In particular, that the work is derivative of other work. So we didn't, we didn't copy it. We didn't reproduce it even. The nature and purpose of the use was the material. So again, this is like if you're just stealing somebody else's work and claiming
plagiarism. In other words, if he wants to pretend we plagiarized him, he knows he has no case, and he'll also look like the biggest crybaby bitch, which he is.
Well, that's why, again, that's what happened, because all of this was from last year, and it backfired on all of them, including Liam. Like, you see Liam, I've watched the last couple of Liam streams because they're just treasures. Liam is fucking miserable. He has what doctors refer to as an inability to cope. And he is miserable. He is utterly friendless now and whining about how all of his friends have left him. We basically got you to do that to yourself.
We could absolutely take credit for that, but we really can't.
Yeah,
we could take credit for that if we were lesser people.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare take credit from Liam for that. I mean, he could sue us for copyright infringement for trying to take credit for him losing all his friends. That's something that he created himself. He put in the work to lose all his friends himself. All we did was point out what he did. That's it. Sometimes that's all it takes, though, to really do the real damage, to like get somebody's mind to tear. And that gives us sick pleasure, of course. We live for that.
Sick, evil pleasure.
Anyways, Jim Turner wraps up that comment saying, Liam then pivots to claims that is really about defamation. So he's admitting, as well, it's worth pointing out that if an individual uses the copyright reporting system in YouTube to pursue an issue materially unrelated to copyright, they can land in serious trouble with YouTube. Now, that didn't happen, but over the past year, we've seen how this has weared down on Liam's life, where he's apparently pretending to be married, having almost a dozen stepchildren that are teenagers, he claims, and that
they're all girls.
His wife was going to have a baby in, I think, January, but now the baby already exists and is crawling already.
It's not even a month old, and it already can crawl, even though babies can't do that. Not unless he's trying to claim he's some kind of Aryan Superman.
Or maybe he is. Well, who knows? Oh no, what's this? For some reason, this just shows up next. Again, completely random.
Oh no, is this a picture of fucking Preston Poulter?
Yes, it is. Martin. No, it says it's attributed to Martin Luther King, but I think this is Preston Poulter, which again goes to show there's fucking, as far as the antis and all that shit, we've always been our own thing. We've always been the shitty webcomics.
We're above, ascended far above
Yes.
and beyond any of these piddling concerns of these nobodies. And they are
Genetically
nobodies.
ascended? Are we genetically superior? I don't know. Maybe it's not up for us to decide. Maybe it's up for God to decide. But God said yes.
I
Yeah,
asked God,
okay.
and he said yes.
It's pretty cool.
I told God to say yes, so he said yes.
But Martin Luther, yeah, that's true. Martin Luther King says, judge a man not by the color of his skin, but by the color of his Discord name, which Preston Poulter had very famously, a giant meltdown. You know, we should try and scroll back to that and find that and just read through that for a fucking video. That would be on our Subscribe Star, so you got to pay money to fucking see that. But that was very funny when Preston Poulter had an entire day long meltdown over how Vicky and DA had blue names, but he didn't have a blue name in our Discord. He had a green name, and there was literally no difference between the blue names and the green names except for the color of the name. And he was fucking furious and had this giant meltdown and screaming fit, and then got his supporters and customers to try and fucking have a meltdown too. And some of them are having meltdowns over other people who are just unrelated now because they won't condemn us or Vicky or DA. And like everyone else is just really tired of this. They're tired of Preston. They're tired of Preston's.
I haven't been paying much attention.
They're tired
to
of
it at all.
Comicsgate. They're tired of fandoms.
I'm quite simply, I just don't have the time in my life.
Yeah, we agree with them that it is also tiresome. Anyways, here's somebody else that was on.
I'm hoping this is wrapping it up because I am so.
It's just
done.
about, yeah. There's only a couple left. This is somebody else on Kiwi Farms mentioning. So you didn't pay Liam to dox SWC, which again, it was very evident at that time. This is from late last year. It says 28 minutes ago though. Permanently, the screenshots. Replying to this guy, basically calling out Ethan, saying, so you didn't pay Liam to dox SWC, but you are trying to get their information? How many people have you threatened to sue, Ethan? Which actually he's threatened to sue a lot of people.
It's like it was his baseline fucking statement, like his accusation right off the bat. It's like, I'm going to sue you.
It's important. Yeah, it's important to point out that as much as people try to bury their heads in the sand and do damage control and denial, Ethan Van Sciver straight up supported our false flagging and our attempted dox.
Not just fucking supported, but I mean, he basically willed it to happen. He caused it.
Yeah, well, yeah, he paid Liam Gray to do it, and
financial
paid, but even without the money, even without the financial support, behind the scenes they were talking about this, and you know, Ethan was telling Liam, you know, hey, you should flag these guys, and they're doing videos about him. You should copyright strike their material, or you know, generally supporting that. And Liam was like, I'm going to copyright strike them, and Ethan was like, yeah, absolutely, and try to get their address and that.
Yes,
kind of,
absolutely.
I want to know who they are, that kind of thing.
By all means, do that.
Which here's the thing: is that everyone knows who we are. We're shitty web comics. We've never lied about who we are. Yeah. When are you going to take off the makeup and show who you are? But anyways,
why isn't Ethan Van Sciver here? He's at home washing his tights. which he wears when he goes on stage on Broadway. When he's doing,
he does a real number on Broadway.
He's doing Texas Chainsaw Mascara.
Wow, fucking Aqua Teen Hunger Force is such a great show.
Just imagine not watching that show and instead
imagine
watching
not recognizing
gay comics. Instead, you're like, oh, I really like cape shit.
I read a superhero comic.
I love
superhero comics should be like this. Why don't you watch real stuff for a man?
I guess because there aren't men. They cannot be men. They're just genetically. Their blood levels have just too much estrogen in them.
Ethan Van Sciver, I do have to admit, one of the first trans creators in comics. Very brave. I mean, you see him cross-dressing so often on his streams, doing these goofy costumes like Linkara, which they are very similar in behavior.
He's got some beautiful, beautiful wigs that make him look like an ugly woman.
Yes. To be honest, he'll never be a woman. He just doesn't pass. But I do appreciate his constant attempts to act and look like a woman.
He is always trying to be a woman.
How come he's doing that?
Well, he's less than a woman to me.
To me.
He's less than a woman, not a man either.
Anyways, so this nice person, I suppose, on Kiwi Farms from a year ago, and I think they don't even read Kiwi Farms anymore.
Who would? Do you want to be behind the times? You read Kiwi Farms.
Yeah, if you want to, read Kiwi Farms to find out about it in a couple of years, or follow us to find out about it right now. That's the saying about Kiwi Farms. That's also objectively true. That's not my opinion. Anyways, he says, the question is, why is EVS's behavior this way, not blocking this mentally ill person when he himself has been insulting him of being a retard every time he can, verbally abusing? This is after the whole thing blew up in Ethan's face. Is that now Ethan? Well, it says, the truth is EVS enjoys their slave master faggot parasocial relationship, which is true. That is what it very clearly was.
And that's what he wants to do to everybody. And very few people lack the self-respect.
And this guy points out, just as much as it was the same kind of highly manipulative cuckold energy relationship with Roe and the rest of War Campaign, you could see that too, who were caught saying they exchanged dick pics and nudes for loyalty blackmailing.
I didn't know about that, actually. That is the fucking gayest shit I've ever heard.
They came out and admitted that, and from Big Steve's interview. I remember I did watch that Big Steve interview where he talked about how they would give each other dick pics so that they would have to be loyal to each other, or else your dick pics will be out on the internet. That's Ethan Van Sciver's personal fucking dox brigade, which again backfired on him.
I mean, you're part of a group, you're part of a doxing ring that's protecting a guy who can't make comics.
And let's not forget,
what's the first thing we need to do? Okay, we're going to have to send each other dick pics so that just in case we ever decide to betray each other over the doxing ring of a shitty failed comic creator, we'll spread our dick pics around the internet.
That's another thing.
Embarrass each other.
I have no qualms about gloating smugly about is I've never asked any guy I know for dick pics. I've never thought to send anyone my dick pic to prove that I would be loyal to them on pain of release of dick pics. Yeah, same here. Same here. I've never even thought to ask anyone for dick pics or to ask anyone if they want mine.
Are we supposed to do that? Should we demand the dick pics of everyone we're working with? And
why is Comicsgate for that? Why? Because that was done in the name of Comicsgate, and people in Comicsgate knew what was happening. Why do they support that?
They don't seem to talk about it much. It's like they can't admit to it, even though the members themselves admitted to it.
If you see somebody in Comicsgate saying that they don't know this happened, they're lying. Just straight up.
There's nothing else that happened in Comicsgate.
Yeah.
Two things happened in Comicsgate.
They
fucking ripped off their customers, and two, War Campaign was fucking spreading their own dick pics among each other.
And other people in Comicsgate, other creators and supporters of Comicsgate were saying, we need a war campaign. Comicsgate needs a war campaign. And again, now Comicsgate doesn't have a war campaign. What are their opinions on that? Well, now they have nothing to say because they know it backfired. It's fucking, they basically got caught wanting to support.
And a lot of those big
false
YouTube
flag.
channels, they don't talk about it anymore, but they were 100% war campaign. Whoever the fucking yellow umbrella fags and people along those lines, Nick Rekieta, he was basically pro-war campaign.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had war campaign guys being mods on it and fucking, being friends of it. Well, being guests and friends, and he would platform them as they actually didn't do anything except make up fake stories and then just do the general pandering. That's all it's about these days on YouTube. Is it's about pandering. It's about saying like, oh, the SJWs are bad, everyone, right? And then everyone's like, yeah, oh man, this guy's so based. And it's like, okay, now here's a black guy who's fucking my wife behind the scenes, and it's like, oh, based black guy, it's queer,
based cuckery, great.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
based
like
in red pill cuck relationship.
And if you go, wait a second, this is weird. Why am I supposed to be supporting this just because?
Why am I supposed to? You want me to give money to this guy just because of this?
Yeah,
I don't want to give him money just because of this. He doesn't seem trustworthy.
Yeah, all it takes is somebody saying, "Oh, I'm for this thing. This guy was almost shot by a bad person. I'm against them being shot by a bad person." Everyone goes like, "Oh man, he's
the
so
SJWs doxed me and they shot up my house, smashed my mailbox, and they shot my daughter, and she's still alive." The
they shot my daughter in the head. The Taliban shot them.
Fucking Liam Gray pretending like he has to rush out of his own house during a stream at the beginning because he's going to stop a knife attack.
I was watching his latest streams, and he straight up is now claiming that he did a stream where he had been stabbed before the stream and that he was streaming and bleeding all over the place. And that the other friends of his who were on the stream told him, "Hey, you're bleeding. You gotta stop. You got stabbed. Holy shit! Stop the stream and go to the hospital." And all of those friends are like, "That never happened. What the fuck?" And of course, this stream itself never happened, and there's not even evidence that it. I remember him doing a 10-second stream saying somebody outside just got stabbed. And then he cut off the stream, and there was no other stream because if there was a stream where he got stabbed, there would be clips of it all over the fucking place, and people talking about like, "Holy shit, he was
just imagine
stream here."
Just imagine if that happened to fucking Revenge of the Sis or fucking Sam Hyde show, where they're doing their show and anything even remotely like that happened outside of their studio, it would be in their fucking intro clips for the rest of time.
It would be in news. It would be in the news, and they would be using the news story about it in their intros or fucking whatever.
And they do an entire show about it after the fact. It would be huge news by itself on the internet.
International fucking and like meme legend, just everywhere. A-logs and supporters alike would both be fucking showing the pictures of them getting stabbed. And it's just something that never happened, and he now pretends he's completely convinced. Liam Gray is convinced that he did a stream where he had been stabbed on the stream and was bleeding, and none of that ever happened. And again, this is what Comicsgate supports. Like guys like Raging Golden Eagle still support this.
They think it's good material just to lie and be stupid like that. That's how low quality these people are. It's typical for people who like cape shit and American comics. Is just low quality, low effort.
This comment though, not only Ethan become a lazy has-been comic book creator that cannot write a good story on his most beloved franchise, but he hasn't changed his ways. His petulant little gay prince behavior actually worsened. The amount of OG CG creators he ousted from the movement, which again is also true, proves how shitty of a person he is. Nasser, Nurkish, Doug, Mike, and so on. Nasser actually liked this post, and then later, As Nasser told me, he said he contacted Ethan and said, "I will kiss the ring. I'll do whatever you want." And the next day, Ethan let Nasser back in, which goes to show it's not about right or wrong. It's about
it's not even
loyalty.
about integrity. It's not even really about loyalty.
It's about somebody
fealty.
saying that they will worship you. That's all Ethan really cares about, and that Ethan proved that. Ethan
It's a lesser thing.
That's not me saying that. That's Ethan saying that.
It's weaker than all of those traits combined, or even by themselves. It's something you would never actually do unless you have no interest in running a movement.
I can't state this enough. It's impossible to overstate this. We have been telling people for years, do not be loyal to us. Don't be loyal to a
I don't respect anyone who acts like that.
Or a person.
People who act like that, I automatically disrespect. That was the thing. That was
Even if they're loyal,
the gatekeeping that we had to do. Was fucking like, you're fucking purity testing me. Yeah, and you have already failed. Because you're fucking acting like a little fucking ass kiss. Yeah, you're acting like our content.
First of all, you're acting like we purity test, which is the real purity test.
Yeah, that was the actual purity test, and you failed.
And you
are impure, and therefore we are going to fucking kick you out. We're going to wash you down the drain.
Have to exterminate the lot of you.
Going to pour you down the drain like oil from a pan.
We'll give you a mulligan on this one, though. But I just thought it was funny, though. The beginning of the last paragraph here says, "But EVS is never the culprit of anything. He's so innocent, so charming. He is the human sunbeam. See, 109 of his friends left him for his behavior, but all of them are the problem."
109 friends. I've been kicked out of a few strip clubs in my life, Tone, but 109.
Hey, Tone, 109. It just seems weird.
Hey, Tone, why would somebody claim that they're making a comic book and then be 2 years late, and then black people who ask them when the comic book's coming out? Yeah, that seems a little suspicious, doesn't it? Hey, Tone.
He doesn't. That's the worst fucking impersonation. Or we're doing fucking John Travolta from Welcome Back, Kotter as a fucking one of the Sopranos.
I'm not doing impersonations. I'm opposed to attempting attempting impersonations.
Holy shit. Anyways, here's a DM for anyone who says, by the way, that you're against leaking DMs. Here's Ethan Van Sciver posted a DM with one of his DMs with Liam Gray.
Well, this is very interesting.
Yeah, it's very strange. And again, he did all this. Well, the DMs are from let's see, 9-9 is Ethan going "I ate Maine" in reply to something. Very cool. He's very hip with the lingo.
So, just like one of the Squiddos, you never you never be able to tell a difference between him and the average 20-something.
Yeah, he has a lot of the street in him, Anyways, so that was 9-9-20, and then 9-18-20 is Liam gets back in touches base with Ethan Van Sciver in DMs here on Twitter, saying, just so you have the inside baseball of what's going on, SWC used DA talks as a buffer so my lawyer could not serve the pay. Again, now,
this is clever. We're so clever. We're like a mongoose.
How crafty. Wow.
Very He's kind of crafty like that.
This was shown. This was already shown as Ethan quoted it in a previous thing. So we've gone over this, but to prove that Liam actually said it, Ethan posted the DM. So I think it's very
so you can see, and it's a new form of cope called pathetic cope.
Yes. From the Caesar of cope, Copius Maximus, if you will. Now, here's the part. This is basically the end, isn't it? Yeah, and here's the last thing. So this is to wrap up. This did go over an hour. Very sad. But here was Liam Gray emailing Preston Poulter, and thing is,
he's accusing him of the first thing that comes up when people search his name, not for the reviews.
Yeah, so that basically shows right there, like what really was bothering him was that there were negative reviews of his comic, and it's like, hey, if your comic is actually good, if Comicsgate really supports you, they'll fucking give you positive reviews. You'll drum up natural support on your own. Like even we have, and Tim and Mark have. And of course, us on a much smaller scale, we've never denied that we fucking don't have an audience, but we also fucking have been saying for years, fucking, if you're trying to hold us to some kind of standard of your own, go ahead and unsubscribe.
Honestly, I think we
unfollow
have
button is just right there in front of you.
we have a bigger legitimate audience. I mean, going all the way back to the fucking Dumbler days, we had a lot of people coming in, basically reading our blog. They might not remember our names, but they fucking remember what we said.
Yeah,
Well, how many of the fake
fucking,
followers,
real.
the fucking bought subscribers that he paid for, how many do you think are actually watching his videos? We already know it's a tiny amount.
Yeah, it's fucking.
We actually kind of beat him in a lot of fucking.
But also
for most of
the
his
quality
videos.
in a way that the thing is that it's not about the fucking measurement of the metrics, but the quality of the viewer of our videos is much higher. The standard of the person, like everyone in Comicsgate gets a bunch of brain dead NPCs who don't have souls, whereas our viewers have not only souls, but they have, as they would say in a certain game series, large souls. Large souls,
greater
heroes,
greater souls, maybe even grand souls.
Yeah. Well, that's another game too. Various video games can be used. But anyways, so here's Liam. Here's the thing: is that Liam Gray, and this is what eventually got the whole thing to really implode, where Ethan was full on supporting Liam Gray until this happened, where Liam emailed Preston saying, remove the tags of your review of Pursuit so it's not the first thing that comes up when people search my name. Now, the tags clearly didn't matter because it goes by the name of the video usually first. And give me the verified names and addresses of SWC for my lawyers, and I will not strike your channel for harassment or include you in the charges of the defamation suit. So he wasn't going to strike us or sue us for copyright, but for defamation, which again, we didn't defame Liam Gray in
I am now, but it's not really. Is it really defamation if I'm calling him a limp-wristed bitch faggot loser who is also
well, that's
mentally
not defamation if it's your opinion. If I were to say,
it's definitely not my opinion, though. My opinion is that I don't really appreciate his presence.
Yeah, that's our opinion, but also, I mean, in a way, you can say that's just our opinion that Liam Gray is this.
He's a swish.
He says, I'm also willing to pay cash for any screens, testimony, or information you have on Doug Tnaple actively trying to damage my business or impede my career. This is a one-time offer. Now, here's the thing. Doug Tnaple, there was none of that with Doug Tnaple. There was none of that with us either, of course. But also, Preston doesn't have our names or our addresses. Even if he thinks he has our names, by the way, which there's some other stuff floating out there where some people are like, oh, I think we actually do know the SWC brothers' names. And then like somebody posted the initials, and it's like, oh yeah, another one of the pseudonyms that I used to fucking throw around too. Good one picking up on that one too then, which I fed to a guy who was extremely suspicious. So I was like, okay, let's see. It's sort of like the register to a website with like the name of the website. So if they sell your information to spam bots, you'll know who did it. So that's basically what I was fucking doing with that.
Because I mean, we're old school fucking internet users.
To anyone who actually thinks they do know our secret docs at this point, the only people who really know, not that I even want to admit that somebody you would know, but Tim and Mark do. I think not even Mark. And the thing is, I told Tim, it's like, I have no problem telling you what my name is. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to know because it shouldn't even be relevant. And it shouldn't be something that could come out. And it's like, yeah, all right. I understand.
That's something a trustworthy person actually does.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. A trustworthy person is like, I don't want to know your name. It's not fucking important or relevant. And that's the thing is that's how you actually kind of know is that somebody does something for you or they're not looking to fucking get an in with you for any way. But this right here was Liam Gray committing blackmail. And again, he was basically or not basically, he did it on Ethan Van Sciver's dime. And when this came out, all of a sudden, the cope from Ethan was that suddenly he thought that Liam Gray was a lol cow and all that stuff. And it was very obviously damage control to avoid legal charges of Ethan being involved with trying to get our docs and his direct involvement and open public support of having.
Yeah, it's the one thing you don't say about somebody when you're caught with them, if you're being honest.
Yeah,
is like somebody that you've done shows with, that you've paid money to. The first thing you never ever do is be like, oh, they're a fucking loser, they're fucking jagoff. It's like, why are you working with them then? It's like, I'm going to rip up their book now and live on stream. And it's like, why are you doing that now? I was wondering why you're doing the thing before. Now I'm wondering why you're doing this. Yeah. And his own idiot fans don't wonder. Again, he doesn't have many left.
So this is why we wanted to do this, because there basically wasn't a video going over the whole thing all together in one thing. It was all a lot of pieces, and we're like, I don't like doing streams these days, and just we do videos, but we just sort of do them for ourselves and for the people who
we do the videos for the actual reason that you should be doing videos, which is that it's just for your own personal edification.
Yeah, for your own edification, but also, I mean, to entertain yourself. I understand that. So when I see like people in Comicsgate just doing 4-hour streams instead of working on their comics
daily,
I understand that. But yeah, ultimately, it's like if you owe a comic, if you're supposed to have a comic done and released, you clearly are displaying that you don't care about your customers. But
again, though, I mean,
go over the evidence.
At that point, you have to wonder about the customers. I mean, how brain dead must their customers be? And the answer is pretty brain dead.
Pretty much. But yeah, we wanted to just sort of do a single conclusive video.
If I cast Soul Trap on one of Ethan Van Sciver's customers, I would probably get a petty soul.
Petty soul? Oh no. Well, hopefully,
which is the shittiest kind.
Yeah, hopefully you don't waste a black soul gem or a grand soul gem on the soul of a Comicsgate supporter, because it would just be a complete waste of a soul gem.
Pro tip: don't waste a fucking black soul gem or grand soul gem.
Going into the chat now, Jim Turner mentions at one point Liam believed. Yeah, I forgot this. I forgot that Liam actually was saying this on his streams. Liam was saying that Doug Tanaple was being funded by the Chinese to destroy Western civilization by attacking Comicsgate. And again, while Liam was saying this, Ethan was still supporting him and platforming him, having him as a guest, being a guest on his streams.
And that's something they should never live down, but they fucking, nobody cares enough about Comicsgate to even remember it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's basically the greatest strength, is that pretty much everyone doesn't actually look into Comicsgate. If you did, you would see stuff like this everywhere. This is just like a small corner of Comicsgate, but it is proof that Ethan Van Sciver was complicit in criminal behavior. There's no way around that. The thing is that instead of like pressing charges or reporting it to the police, first of all, that's a little gay to do that. Second of all,
that's extremely gay.
That doesn't play into our plans, our evil plans. Letting this stuff continue is really how it works, because as we've shown over the last year, we let it continue, and look how it's turned out for everyone. People, Ethan's customers are publicly and vocally turning against him, yelling at him, saying, "Where the fuck is my book? Finish the fucking book."
They let out like a bed of nails coated in fucking toxic sludge. And they're like, you have to jump into this now. And I decided not to. So they jumped into it. And then they scream, "Why'd you do this to me?
Why aren't you jumping into the..." Yeah, it's just fucking like...
That is basically, you sum it up as simple as possible. That is exactly what Comicsgate and all these major supporters continue to do.
EVS is the Epstein / Bobby Kotick of the comics.
Personally,
I don't know which is worse.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because first off, Bobby Kotick probably not guilty of raping all those women. Epstein, on the other hand, at the very least, had the good sense to fuck off this mortal coil.
on accident, but
on
you
accident.
may have incited the fucking off part.
EVS didn't even have the good sense to do that.
And that's another thing is that all the videos on our Subscribestar, I'd love to post them in public, but when we did post all of our videos in public, it got our channel shut down for false.
Yeah, if you want to be mad at
happened.
anybody for that, don't be mad at us.
Yeah,
we didn't do that.
Yeah, so again, the only recourse we have is to put our videos behind the pig paywall on Subscribestar, linked below. You can check out all the videos that we can't show you in public, and on top of that is that you know, maybe one day when most of the people in Comicsgate have been ejected from this veil of queers, then we could post all the videos in public. But until then, we have to put them behind the paywall, which I don't want to, and I don't like it, but we don't have a choice.
I don't like it, but I like Comicsgate faggots even less.
And the thing is, again, if Comicsgate actually held themselves accountable for their behavior and for criminal activity, in this case, Ethan Van Sciver being directly complicit in criminal activity and false flagging and an attempt to get our docs that failed. Because again, like you said, yeah, we're crafty that way. Oh no, we just gave him DA Talks' information instead. For something because we all
were man enough,
completely frivolous, meaningless attempt at a claim at a lawsuit.
If they were man enough, they'd fucking hold themselves accountable. But they're not men.
Yeah, how come they don't do that? Why come they can't do that?
They're not even women. They're like little girls.
As mentioned, Kiwi Farms Comicsgate thread is or forum is a support group for Ethan Van Sciver, which and some people do try to hold him accountable, but it just doesn't fucking
in comparison to what
how he should be treated. He knows he needs as much damage control as possible, so he gets people. Usually, he will pay people. He actually has a history of paying people to shore up his support if he's ever actually being criticized on something that he has no argument for. He'll pay people to sort of obsess and spurg and brigade about it so that people will be like, I don't have time to deal with this stupid bullshit, and just drop it, which happens a lot. Mars 10 points out, I think Preston has overdosed on something and damaged his brain. There does seem to be an element of that with Preston where he seems worse than he was a couple years ago. A couple years ago, he was just sort of generally a critic. Now all I can say about him is that all the time he was just trying to parrot us. I can't even give him credit for trying to criticize Comicsgate or anyone else. He was just parroting us and trying to sort of, I guess, sleaze his way into this just general stuff that we're doing. And we weren't doing it to build a brand or a following. We were doing it just to get our point across, which we got people. It was good for us because we got people who were in the know about how Comicsgate is essentially criminal fucking engagement and support by nature. In practice, Comicsgate supports and endorses false flagging. And anyone who says that it doesn't is lying by what we have just objectively proven with evidence here. There is no refutation of what we've just shown in Comicsgate. And again, this is a year old. Comicsgate did not even try to refute any of the stuff that we just showed. They just go into a weird denial and cope and be like, oh, I don't support that. And it's like, but why did you support it then? You support Ethan. Your movement gave money to these people who did support it. So you have supported it. Yes. I'm sorry to break it to you, but yes, you did support it. Jim Tuner mentions it was his grandma, not his mom. Grandma Punch Puppy Killer. That was one of the goofy nicknames to make fun of him. To make fun of Liam. He couldn't, because Mars 10 says Liam couldn't even win a fist fight with his own mom, which is true. The Potemkin Village lawyer for retards. Nick Ricada is a cardboard lawyer of this dead internet. There is there's a lot of good stuff in the chat, which I haven't been reading because, again, we don't really pay attention to the chat because the chat's just there for decoration. For us, it's just talking about the stuff we want to cover. Liam Gray has me blocked, though I think he was just blocking anyone who so much as followed y'all's Twitter on Discord. Yeah, it's another thing. Comicsgate does support its block bots. We've been blocked by several people in Comicsgate that we've never engaged with. Comicsgate actually does have a block bot or a block list, and we're fucking public enemy number one on there.
CGUs.
Baltimore Orioles number one. Liam should have been glad for the free publicity and objective.
He's not smart enough, though. He's not good enough or smart enough to fucking be glad for free publicity.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that's what they thought Comicsgate was for, was the free publicity, and they thought this will make us immune to any criticism. And here's the thing: I will fully admit we gave subjective criticism and critique, or even complaints, to Xenotype as well, but we did give objective criticism also. And then our reviews were also just about the sort of general context of the entire movement and Liam Gray's, getting caught lying and that kind of shit. Just as much as, Ethan Van Sciver has been caught lying by us. That's why Ethan hates us. And if you see Ethan say anything about how much he hates us, it's because we caught him lying and fucking displayed it and clipped it, which is something that Comicsgate would never have the balls to do. Of course, Comicsgate will never hold themselves accountable for anything unless a person with status in the movement says, hey, everyone attack this person. They're no longer allowed in Comicsgate. And then they all agree and worship, and they listen and believe as their peers in feminism and Anita Sarkeesian have said. It was around the time when Odie joined the military and Liam got into an argument with Malin about being Odie's father figure. Yeah, that was just fucking Liam and Malin arguing. Talk about the dumb dumbing dumb.
The dumb following the dumber.
Yeah. Mental illness gate, which is, that seems to sum it up. Liam is objectively crazy. Yeah. Like, provably, you can fucking actually objectively measure and quantify with science tools how Liam is mentally ill, because they in fact did that. He went to the hospital. That's why he shaved his head and looked sick, because we were driving him more insane, but he went and got an EEG because of how insane he was getting over the fact that YouTube temporarily released our fucking channel, so that he had to resort to false claims of harassment, which is, again, what SJWs do. Comicsgate, you really support that SJW behavior of crying harassment over getting criticized?
He went and got an EEG, and it said that he was so close to brain dead that I was like, I don't know how you're even still alive.
He got an EEG and it said one at a time. Comicsgate, you by practice, in practice, not us accusing anyone of anything. Comicsgate has, in practice, supported false flagging and SJW behavior. That's not our accusation. That's Comicsgate admitting it. So again, we wanted to just do a stream where we summed it all up again. The Rainbow Brute thing, somebody mentions it's going to be late. Yeah, of course it's going to be late if it even gets released. I'm not sure that Rainbow Brute will ever exist. Cyberfrog 2 definitely isn't coming out this year, as we said it wouldn't. But Cyberfrog 2 may not even come out next year.
And for all we know, the first comic never came out. He sent copies to like very select fucking specific reviewers.
He kind of admitted that Cyberfrog 1 wasn't finished. Ever finished. He said he rushed out Cyberfrog because he thought he had to address the criticisms of it being late. And by that he means us calling him out live on stream.
It's not a criticism.
Laughing at him and
it
saying,
was late.
It's
not a criticism if it's late.
Yeah,
it's simply a statement of fact.
Yeah, it's just true.
It might be a criticism if we point out that it's poorly written and that the art is terrible. Which
Doom Tuner makes a really good point here. Ethan Van Sciver showed degenerated into a bunch of boring old bald men. Look at the balds talking about how things used to be. That's really what Comicsgate is. It's appealing to 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds.
Man baby, like
by pandering to them, telling them that the comics that they like are the best comics. You know, the comics that were coming out when your life peaked in high school, those are the best comics for sure.
Or in their
newer
case,
comics
like
are
when
for sure bad and going away.
It's like the
Manga is going
when
away.
they were 6
that was
years
one of
old.
the fucking earliest things about Comicsgate. One of the earliest copes that they've completely buried in memory hold is Comicsgate used to full on believe that manga was going away and wouldn't last. And some people were like, no, we support manga, we read manga. And you know, people in Comicsgate would say, no, manga is fucking,
you're not allowed in here. We're not if you fucking say that.
Ethan Van Sciver actually said, we're not going to appeal to that audience. And it's like, shouldn't you appeal to every audience that you can? And he's like, no, we're not going to. He actually said that on stream.
It's interesting he said that because he's also backpedaled from that.
Yes.
But he hasn't actually kept to what he says.
But then backpedaled from the backpedaling too. He did that.
He claims that he wants to fucking appeal to manga fans. And it's like, it's about time we appeal to manga fans. And he said that like at the beginning of this year, and he hasn't done anything about that either. And then again, he hasn't produced anything.
And it was because after other people in Comicsgate caught on to what we had said years ago, we did the first ever videos pointing out that manga outsold American comics. And then eventually other people in Comicsgate sort of ripped off our statements and started pointing that out. And then other people were like, oh, maybe we should appeal to the manga readers then. And that's what Liam thought he was doing too. So he had Odie drawing in that sort of style. And the thing is that, again, Odie's art, not bad, really. You can tell that it's a lot of tool assists, which is fine because that's how most professionals do it too. But
especially like younger people probably
the thing is that
learn how to do it that way.
After that whole collapse, after Odie had came out with the stuff saying that Liam didn't pay him, which is fucking true, and Liam denies and says, no, I paid him, here's the receipts, and doesn't really show it properly.
Which means that there's
that whole implosion. Liam or Odie went and made his own independent comic called Tomahawk Angel, which we reviewed, and it's not very good either. The art is very nice, and it got a big following because of the art, because that's what a lot of comic fans.
Well, I mean, the art is good.
The surface details
it's
of
a
the
free
art,
comic,
not the content.
It's free for a free comic,
which helps. That does help at least. But the thing is that I've noticed that his comic hasn't updated in 2 months now, and it looks like it's pretty much died. And there could be a lot of reasons. Maybe he went back to the military. I don't keep up with him. He deleted his Twitter, though. So Odie has just sort of walked away from a lot of this shit and maybe realizes he doesn't have as much passion for a lot of this shit as
well, I mean,
as who knows, because Liam
had passion. I can imagine, you know, if I was in the same situation, I had passion for doing this one thing. I was doing a lot of it, and then the guy who was my partner ripped me off and fucked me over.
Liam acts like
I lose passion too.
It's very weird. It sounds like the way Liam phrases it, he makes it sound like they had a very weird relationship.
It's very gay, very incestuous.
Yeah, there's like he talks about how they would do shirtless workouts or some shit like that. And then he would say, no, I didn't see him shirtless. I may have seen him shirtless in some of his model photos. And it's like, you're just contradicting other stuff you've already
I never saw him shirtless. I only saw him shirtless.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you saw him shirtless.
Again, it's a very regular thing with fans of something, with fandoms, and especially comic book fans and anime fans are people who you can just accidentally play into contradicting themselves over and over again. If you try to hold them to an argument, they usually don't even start. They don't rise to the level of even refutation, but they just stick around like name calling and ad hominem. And so they never have any real arguments. They usually resort to like, other people agree with me, therefore I'm right.
It's safe to assume they're not human. They're more closer to an animal than a human.
You could say an NPC is a good comparison. Like if they're just a series of if-then exceptions where they have very simple coding that is very easy to short out.
You can also say
we
that
saw Liam Gray's code short out visibly on screen when he fucking had like. This is another thing that Comicsgate desperately needs to listen to us about. They should be worshiping us because we've been right, and they eventually are forced to admit it, even if they can't admit that it was us that they're stealing all their opinions from in time. But they need to stop streaming every last angstrom of the collapse of their lives and their fucking implosion of their failure to argue anything. Like, it's gotten to the point where, again, as we've seen, they're even forced to admit they have no arguments for anyone anymore.
I mean, honestly,
it's a big kick in the nuts. I gotta say, the kick in the nuts is only just getting started.
You think your nuts hurt so far, Comicsgate? You haven't even begun. If you can still feel your nuts, we haven't even started. I would have to say, though, if I saw Comicsgate up in a tree, I'd probably call him a branch manager. What would you call Comicsgate? What do you say to a Comicsgate if they're wearing a suit and tie?
What would you call them?
Well, what would you say to them?
Are there things you could say to them?
Maybe, will the defendant please rise?
Yes.
Why would
that's a joke, but that's actually happened to people in Comicsgate over fucking Comicsgate.
Which means we are now open to make all kinds of other jokes at Comicsgate's expense, which have already been told, such as, what would you call Comicsgate if they were an astronaut?
Well, I don't think we can answer that one necessarily, but here's one thing
How do you keep Comicsgate from jumping on the bed? You put duct tape on the ceiling.
Or Velcro on the ceiling. That's another
or Velcro, duct tape.
What's the difference? Well, here's the real question. What's the difference between Comicsgate and aspirin? Aspirin works.
That is absolutely the difference between Comicsgate and aspirin. Comicsgate. What's the difference between Comicsgate and a pizza?
A pizza can feed a family of 4. Here's one of the other things that I wanted to bring up before we actually wrap up. Now that we've hit 2 hours, holy shit, that's fucking different. But we've been having a nice time. That's why we're here for 2 hours, because we're having a good time. But one of the only regrets I have, I do deeply regret.
Comicsgate. 2 members of Comicsgate walk into a hug box and they're laughing.
Oh yeah, they own it. That's fucking well. How was copper wire invented? 2 members of Comicsgate were fighting over a penny.
How do you find members of Comicsgate? Roll a penny down the street.
Yeah. Jokes about pennies, fucking freebasing pennies and shit. That's what they're going to be doing on their fucking streams soon. And we didn't even mention how the whole Ribbit coin thing where we pointed out Ribbit coin was a fraud. Ethan doubled down on it, and then it kept backfiring on him horrifically until he was forced to cancel the entire campaign and offer everyone a refund. But he still acts like I lied somehow about it, but then admits that I was right and telling the truth about it.
The whole reason
at the same time,
that is because of
dissonance on Ethan Van Sciver's part.
We did that.
Yeah,
we did that to him.
And yeah, that's just another part of Comicsgate. But what I was going to say is that one of my deepest regrets in life is that we couldn't actually give Liam Gray our names and addresses. I would absolutely, in every single way possible, welcome a lawsuit from him, because it would end with Liam Gray being put in jail. And possibly Ethan Van Sciver would end up being arrested too as a result. Now,
because
all
of
that could still happen. Most likely it will happen on its own independently anyways. And it should, certainly.
This is what happens when you fuck with us. I mean, if you're just naturally a disingenuous person, that's the thing is, they're used to scamming people, but then when we came along, we blew it up. It's kind of like the time ship in that Voyager episode, where Voyager comes up with the shields. that are resistant to
resistant to time
manipulation.
beams. Oh, what a great show!
And so
What
as
a
a result,
notch
it's fucking the time ship starts to realize that Voyager's fucking up all their calculations. And that's exactly what it is with Comicsgate.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
so unused to somebody like us
One
who
of the-
actually stands up to them and calls them out on their shit that
They're
they're
like, how can this be?
scrambling.
This isn't supposed to be allowed to happen. That's how they actually talk too. They
They
actually
can't
sound like that when
even
they
think.
talk.
They have an inability to cope.
Mhm.
The part of their brain that deals with coping is just short circuited.
Anyways, the thing is, we're not trying to press charges. Like if they
No.
tried to press charges,
They should be up
press
for
charges,
charges.
and they would end up in jail. Something would happen with
They
them.
should be up on charges, but I'm not going to be the one to do it.
Like Liam Gray, he would in court. He would fucking probably jump into the jury box and try and punch somebody at some point. He would have some kind of meltdown. He would just end up in jail. The court case would be.
And it would
thrown
be
out,
understandable
and he would be
because the
arrested.
person in the jury would be laughing at him.
Yeah.
Or
he most likely he would think they were laughing at him while no one was laughing, and Liam Gray would think that the jury was laughing at him, so he fucking charges them with fucking tiny fists of flying, his tiny fists of rage, and then fucking in the discovery phase of this, Ethan would be criminally implicated, of course, because the paper trail is completely public, as we've shown. It's archived too, so there's no hiding it. But also, Ethan fully volunteered all of the information showing that he's criminally complicit with Liam Gray's behavior and activity. He tries now to deny it and hopes that people believe him. And the usual cucks in Comicsgate will listen and believe to anything obediently and slavishly, as is their nature. But that's the thing, is that we're just not people who are going to press charges or need to. We just discuss what is objectively the truth, that there's evidence all fully available that everyone in Comicsgate ignores and has been ignoring because they need to. I understand that. I do understand. I have some sympathy for Comicsgate's need to ignore objective fact. But the facts are still the facts, regardless of how many people believe it or how many people deny it. The truth will always be the truth, and that's something we've said long before.
The truth is the truth. It's kind of like it's kind of like Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah. But so still, ultimately, the point we want to get across is that Ethan Van Sciver is directly complicit in criminal behavior and paid criminals to essentially commit crimes for him. And the paper trail, like not even with a discovery phase of a trial, the paper trail is fully public and visible for anyone who actually looks. The people who say it's not true aren't looking. They're refusing to look. They're going into denial. And all we're interested is just doing our own thing. We got some comics coming out we're planning to make in the next year and other stuff. It's hard to get support, of course, because if you don't pander and lie to people, you don't really get support. That's the thing about the fandoms and most of that is telling people the truth gets you losing followers, because most people just want to hear what they want to be told. Because as it turns out, this is actually true. Being told something that you agree with on YouTube releases the same chemicals into your bloodstream that heroin does. And so when we come along and say, no, actually, here's proof that thing you want to believe isn't true, it's like fucking Narcan just shot right into their spine. It's painful. It hurts. And people don't like that. We do like that. We have kind of a weird sick pleasure from that, and even from ourselves being corrected when we're looking for what's really true. Like when we thought that Liam Gray beat up his wife or his mom, and turns out it was his grandma. It turns out what we thought in the first place, the reality was even worse for Liam Gray. So we're happy to be corrected and to find out things. And I understand the desire to support and agree with people just because they're saying that they support you. It's like, hey, I support you guys. It's like, oh, cool. Here's a cool person.
Let's operate with this person. Let's cooperate.
Yeah, I understand that absolutely. And we've tried to do that in general, but the thing is that I'm not
we
going
did
to hold
purity
on to a
test.
liability.
We lacked the purity test.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, though, it's why Preston hates us, is because we wouldn't condemn Vicky and DA in his honor or support him or any of that shit. We're like, hey, we've always been just our own thing.
I didn't think it was necessary to do that. Then, as it turns out, because he melted down, I guess I was right not to take his side anyway.
Yeah, he basically forced, and then on top of that, a whole other topic, which we've addressed previously, is that he supported Zombie Nomicon after it came out that he was a criminal fraud. So Preston's also engaged and complicit in criminal behavior too. But anyways, we'll wrap this up. It's a good 2 hours. A little too long. I wanted to get back to VR stuff.
Mention that the fucking Ethan having a deal with Dynamite Comics. Ethan was pretending to be a fucking independent comic creator.
He tried to claim to be an indie creator, but he worked with Dynamite Comics, so he's not an indie. But anyways, that's again, those are all other videos. And if you want to see more about that, go to our subscribe star and donate to our.
Only so much shit you can go through and dig through. We can't do it all.
Yeah, anyone can go and dig about that, and most people don't. We don't even do the digging.
Which is why I have no patience.
Casually observe this stuff as it floats by us, and it's like, wow, that's interesting.
My
and
patience is.
How dare you
I don't need to have patience for them anymore. I've run out of patience with all these people. Where's your proof about that? We already posted the proof.
Yeah,
I'm done trying to go back again and again, being like, "Where's your proof?"
Yeah, we post the proof every time. And if we don't post the proof, it's because we already did.
I've got a life to lead.
Yeah, we've already posted the proof. Everything we've ever said, we have previously shown the evidence of it that's irrefutable, and the evidence is never even attempted to be refuted by anyone. But yeah, there's a bunch more about stuff that we didn't cover. We just wanted to
all these people, we bring up the evidence and they still ignore it. So until they stop ignoring it, I'm not even going to pretend like they need to be answered.
Yeah, because again, we're still right either way. That's the thing, is that the truth is the truth regardless of anything, whether people believe it, don't believe it, lie about it, evidence. And
this is
if it happened, it happened.
This is like it's 2 hours and 11 minutes already.
It's like
we've gone through like 5 years worth of shit.
Yeah, we covered 5 years worth of shit in just 2 hours. That's actually pretty good timing on our part. But anyways, it's like what Steve Saylor refers to as the war against noticing. We're part of the people who notice it, and Comicsgate is engaged in the war against noticing. And they joined the SJW. Objectively, not my opinion, Comicsgate is on the same side as the SJWs through their practice and behavior. That's, again, none of this is my accusation or my opinion or what I think about it. It's what Comicsgate has openly admitted, as we've proven.
Have you seen Ethan Van Sciver's nose? Why is it like that?
Yes. Have you seen how rapidly his face is aging? What's going on with that? Where is that the really shiny grail with all the gems? Where'd that go? Did somebody misplace that? I don't know.
I have to say, is that the right grail? I don't think so.
If you want to keep up with the truth and what's really going on, you do have to subscribe to our channel, I guess. I mean, at some point, I guess you do have to hit the bell for notifications, but I don't care either. Unsubscribe. Do the John Malin, do the fucking Mike S. Miller, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Do the Ethan Van Sciver, where you subscribe on a sock puppet account and don't admit it to anyone.
Except watch every single leader come out. Watching every single angstrom of every single video that we do.
Yeah, as Ethan Van Sciver's friends have actually ended up admitting, he's completely obsessed with our channel. That's them saying this, by the way. It surprised me. I thought it was funny, but anyway,
it's not our fault.
Yeah,
we don't do that to anyone.
But if you want to see the real lore of everything, you do have to get through the pig paywall. Like $1 will get you some nice videos. And there's just a bunch of stuff coming up on the
there's just years and years worth of archives to dig through.
Delightful, happy archives.
And that's all just $1.
And there's more coming up. There's also like a $5 tier.
I know.
Really, the subscribe star is just to support us, but you also get to listen to some videos that tell the truth that nobody else will admit to. We notice the things that nobody else wants to notice or admit.
We got the receipts. We got everything. That's actually one of the things, though, I remember.
The receipts and the evidence are just out there, anyways.
People were talking about
none of them are secret or hidden.
all the way back in the fucking day in the Dumbler days, people would be like, "Oh, I like listening to you guys talk." You know, they listen to our streams. We did those for free.
Mm-hmm. Furious TV here says, EVS, start paying for your laughs, thanks, or your rage viewing. Yeah, that's a good point. Ethan Van Sciver does clearly owe us money for all the fucking videos of ours that he clearly has been enjoying. That his friends let slip that he's fucking watches all of our videos and fucking,
I wouldn't be
and
surprised
references
at all
them
if he
in
would
private.
actually subscribe. He's probably paying like the full donation.
Yeah,
amount.
he might be. He may already be a backer. So you know what I will say? Thanks to Ethan Van Sciver for being a backer on our Subscribe Star. For the rest of you, check out what check out what Ethan Van Sciver's enjoying. What the rest of you are missing out on. Go to our Subscribe Star.
He's beginning to enjoy his rage.
Yes, he's almost enjoying. He has evolved beyond the emotion of anger. Anyway, so enjoy, check that out. And
Ethan Van Sciver, get me a giant ass fuck coffee.
Yeah, fucking we plan to pay Ethan Van Sciver back in rape dollars. But for the rest of the plebs and the proles, the losers out there, you're so obsessed with, all the rest of you are so obsessed with financially supporting criminal behavior and dishonest people. Maybe you should instead consider supporting honest people who tell the truth
and who also make better comics too.
And here's the thing, you don't have to donate money to us as long as you do some other stuff for us. We have some pals who just do stuff for us. Like fucking, I wouldn't expect any money from Arxelate because he fucking made, 2 issues of a comic book for me. All those are available for sale also linked below. And Tim and Mark also much appreciate and enjoyed our previous comic book, literally issue.
They're the ones who actually show the kind of support that you should expect from a friend,
which is very nice. And also, literally number 2, we're still planning to get that one out this year. I was hoping, or not this year, next year. I was hoping to have it out this year, but there's been a lot of holdups. The shutdown fucked up a lot of other people's lives. In a way that it sort of held off. So when people's comics are late and stuff, I'm like, okay, if your comic's late, but if you're simply not working on your comic, that is your fault, and it's always going to be your fault. So, anyways, just wanted to go over that, and sort of a yearly stream in a way, a year in review stream, is that Ethan Van Sciver's complicit in criminal activity. That's always going to be worth pointing out, and it's irrefutable. Anyone who says that's not true is lying and doing damage control for dishonest and disingenuous movement, which is itself complicit in criminal activity through the denial of objective truth and facts and evidence of the actual criminal activity. And not just Liam Gray punching his grandma or even blackmailing, but just the fact that they wanted our docs most likely so Liam Gray could try to kill us, or that they could have one of their psycho super fans. Because they're, again, some of them, some of the other people in Comicsgate were arrested and convicted of stalking. They took the internet that seriously. They were that mad at the internet. And yet people on Kiwi farms are supporting them. They are all in favor of getting mad at the internet. There's a great hypocrisy going on with all of society, and especially YouTubers, is that pretty much any YouTuber, if you trust a YouTuber, if you find them trustworthy, aside from us, of course, they're dishonest and they're disingenuous in some way that you have actively chosen to ignore. And we're against that on principle. So anyways, give us money, donate money, or not, or unsubscribe, resubscribe, don't hit the bell. And as the real experts have been saying for years before the rest of you pleb losers have been in the dark, burying your heads in the sand, should have listened to shitty